Download the app from the App and Play Store.
I am joined by a very special guest in the studio this afternoon, Suleman Raza, founder of Spice Village Restaurants and Grand Sapphire Banqueting, Croydon. Suleman, welcome to Sunrise Radio. How are you?
I'm very well, Anushka. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. It feels very nice to have somebody in the studio, of course, with precautions that are taken here, sitting more than two meters apart. Suleman, tell us firstly, how has this entire pandemic been for you guys?
Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
We are a family-run business, and we were doing extremely well prior to these crises.
Mm-hmm.
But within the space of few months, it has devastated the whole industry along with our business.
Yeah.
And like I said, within the space of few months, it's a question of surviving, and we're not even sure whether we will be in business in the coming years.
My goodness, my
Yes.
goodness. Now, how you mentioned it's a family-run business. How many years have you guys had this business for?
Yes, with our Grand Sapphire Hotel and Banqueting venue, we've been up and running since 2016. Prior to that, obviously my background is hospitality, food business, so we have been in the food industry for over 16 years now. We started with our small restaurant, Spice Village in Tooting,
Yeah.
and that's where we started from, and then eventually we got into events and catering business, and that's when we thought we should have our own banqueting venue and a hotel. So we've been in the industry for a long time. However, the Grand Sapphire has been there for almost 5 years now, and we specialize in organizing some of the most iconic and memorable events, along with delivering dreams to all those lovely couples who plan the biggest day of their lives.
Yes.
So all of that is currently on hold, and due to this crisis, everything is not going into the right direction.
Everything's just stopped, hasn't it? Now, you just mentioned lovely couples. How do you think brides and grooms are dealing with this? I mean, you must have had conversations with them, people who have already booked for next year, this year. How are they dealing with it?
Yes, like I said, not only we are dealing with our own financial crisis during this pandemic, we also have to deal with emotional trauma which these couples are going through, and so many of them had their biggest day of their life all planned, and you know how much time it takes to plan a wedding day for couples, and all of their dreams have been shattered, and not only they had to postpone their event, they're not even sure when they'll be able to hold them again. So I mean, they are going through a lot of emotional and mental stress, causing them a lot of frustration of not being able to hold their biggest day. So like I said, they're more worried about now is whether they're going to have it this year, next year. There seems to be no indication, no guidance from the government as and when they'll be able to hold it again. So this is definitely causing them a lot of stress.
And just in case you have just tuned in, currently in conversation with Suleman Raza, founder of Spice Village Restaurant and Grand Sapphire Banqueting in Croydon. Now, we were just talking about how this entire pandemic has really affected the wedding industry. Suleman, the current guidelines are you're only allowed up to 30 people at weddings. I mean, how does this even work? Because, our weddings, Asian weddings, are usually quite big. So how is this how is this working with you?
Yes, the way we look at it is kind of a further blow to already decimated industry and our business. For instance, our venue, which is in Croydon, can hold up to 1,000 guests very easily, and we used to do a lot of events of that kind of numbers prior to the lockdown in place. So having a 30 people wedding isn't going to take us far. Neither it is something we were anticipating for. I have been part of the government wedding industry task force committee, which was formed to provide recommendations to the government in terms of easing down the lockdown and having bigger numbers at the wedding. So I've been lobbying for this for the past 3 months, and I've
Right.
attended a number of meetings with lots of local MPs from all parts of UK, along with a number of wedding suppliers.
Yeah.
And we were all lobbying for having more numbers on the weddings, but unfortunately the government has again went for 30 people wedding. I think as you know, as an average Asian family has got 50 to 100 immediate family members.
Exactly.
And on an average Asian wedding, you expect minimum 200 to 300 guests. So this is definitely not going to work for the Asian families, because having those immediate family members not present at their wedding, it's definitely kind of an alternative to breaking the families apart, and definitely they're not going to do that. So the 30 people wedding is not something we were anticipating for. However, we still look at it as kind of a tiny little hope, or kind of a little light at the end of the tunnel, which seems like a beginning towards the recovery.
Right.
And eventually the government may decide, when they feel comfortable, that we can have more people at the weddings. But generally the 30 people wedding is not something wedding industry is looking for. It is causing them further blow to their businesses, which they were anticipating for the remaining part of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this petition just a little while before you came in going around. There's a petition to increase the number of guests permitted at weddings according to the venue capacity. So fingers crossed, and I hope it gets increased, but of course with safety measures in place now. Also, Suleman, I wanted to ask you, if couples are kind of cancelling their events, how are you going about supporting them?
Yes, if you are in a wedding industry business, I don't think anyone would have been as busier cancelling the events this year than ever than before, because we had to cancel a lot of events back in March and April when initially the lockdown was brought in place. Then we were hoping early first week of August the lockdown will be eased off, so few people started planning their event again. However, the Prime Minister cancelled at the very last hour that you can't have the events even for 30 guests. So we had to cancel the events again. So we have been under a lot of pressure in terms of having these cancellations from the couples. However, we've been offering them a lot of support during this time, in terms of consulting with them, speaking to them, responding to their queries. We only have as much information as these couples have. We don't have anything more than they know, because we're all expecting the government to ease the lockdown so that we can start having these events. So currently we're offering them a postponement option to postpone their events until year 2021 or even to year 2022 without incurring any additional charges, and having like-to-like basis events to a future date. But I don't think this is good for the couples, because as you would understand, majority of the Asian families have got multiple obligations, and especially in Muslim families they have a lot of obligations, due to which they cannot afford to postpone their events, and some of them are getting along with it, or some of them have a risk of even breaking the relationships. So it's kind of a very difficult situation handling these cancellations, but we are up for it. We are prepared to take all the financial hit by offering our couples to postpone their events to the next year without incurring any additional costs.
Now, do you think enough has been done to help the wedding industry?
No, I don't think. The government has offered multiple incentives to different sectors of industry out there. However, I feel wedding industry has been ignored completely. We wanted government to include the wedding industry into the wider hospitality sector, so that we could also be entitled to claiming all those reliefs and grants which government has offered to other sectors. For instance, this help to eat out is offering a great incentives to restaurants, whereas the wedding industry hasn't got any such offers. I mean, a lot of wedding industry businesses have not been able to claim any grants because their business rates were higher. For instance, the Grand Sapphire has got a huge square feet size, and we couldn't qualify for any because our business rates were higher than £51,000. So we wanted government to increase that threshold so that businesses like us can be benefited. We also want the government to offer a reduction in the VAT, which has already been offered to different sectors, but not to the wedding industry. We also wanted government to offer deposit guarantee schemes to all these couples because, like us, all the wedding industry is struggling and under huge pressure from the couples who are asking for the refund, mainly because they're thinking it could be that in a few months' time the business will not even be in business, and they may even go out of the business. So they, if the government can offer that sort of scheme where, like, they have offered these bounce back loans, which is guaranteed by the government, if they can offer some sort of guarantee to the consumers that these venues or these wedding businesses are not going anywhere. They have this peace of mind that their money is safe, the businesses are not going anywhere, and they'll be able to have a future event, an event on a future date, safely and the same manner they were expecting in this year. So there's a lot needs to be done by the government to support this industry, so that we can survive and have a good future in coming years.
Absolutely, and I think to sum it up, 2020, the year of survival, isn't it?
Yes.
Suleman, thank you so much for coming into the studio. Shortly running out of time, and I don't know what else to say, but I just really, really hope things recover really, really soon. Fingers crossed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suleman. Cheers.
The app available from the App and Play Store.